Hi, welcome back to my channel with Growing with Grace, from the garden to the jars. I'm going to talk about making baby food. I took the peas from my garden, and you can use frozen peas, but I grow all my stuff from the garden, and I will be making baby food with peas. Okay, well, let's get started. You know how to shell the peas and you know how to clean them. I don't think I have to demonstrate that for you guys. Okay, we're going to put the peas in here. We're going to let it boil for 6 minutes. Let's set our timer. For every video I do with canning, I'm going to go over about sterilizing the jars. This is how I sterilize the jars. I put my jars in the canner. I put water in it, and then I boil it, bring it to a boil. And then I boil it at a low boil for like 15 minutes. I keep the jars in there until I'm ready to use them. Our 6 minutes are up. Drain these real good. Put this in here. I'm going to double the recipe. It takes 4 cups of peas, a teaspoon of salt, and 6 mint leaves. We put the hot peas right into the blender. Throw our salt in there and our chopped up mint leaves. Now, this will be thick, so we have to water it down, and I use the water that I boiled the peas in. That's about a cup of water, and you just have to kind of stop it and go until we can get the right consistency. All right. This is going to make a lot of noise, so we'll get right back with the video. Whoops. This might look a little runny for baby food, but when you put it in the canner, it thickens up as it's canning. The reason why I put the mint in, it kind of gets the rawness, little taste, the rawness flavor away. Before I make any baby food, my daughter is a fitness and a nutritionist. So I do seek advice for her on what I can do, what foods, and how to prepare the foods, especially for babies. And so the mint kind of gives it a little bit better taste. All right. Then I keep the seal in there to keep it good and hot. This is an older canner, and it's hard to get seals for the older canners. So you can call the company, and they can kind of give you a replicant of one, but it's just like centimeters smaller. And in order to use it, you have to heat the gasket up, and then it expands, and then it fits. I'm going to empty the water out. Oh. I only do about 3 or 4 jars at a time. That way the jars stay good and hot. All right, then I put this all back in. Now the peas are good and hot still. We're going to fill these up about 1 inch from the rim. Okay. And you do one more here. When you can this, after it cools, and when you go to open up the baby food, if it's a little too thick, you know, for your baby to eat, there's a couple things you can do to thin it out with. You can use a little bit of sterile water. You can use baby formula, or for you nursing moms, you can use breast milk to thin out the baby food. Now we got to get the air out of it. You get little air pockets, and during the canning process, it can form pressure and kind of pop up your lids. Then sometimes you won't get a good seal. That just releases any air bubbles that are in there. And I always tap it. All right, now we clean the food off the lids. Some people use vinegar. I don't. I've been doing this for years, and I use a nice clean, sterile cloth. All right, then we put our lids on. When you put the rings on, you put it finger tight. You don't put it on real tight. It's not necessary. All right. Take this out. I'll put these back in the canner to keep them hot. We'll bring the other jars out. And then you just repeat the process until your canner's full. I'll be right back with the video as soon as I get these filled up. Now that we got all the food in the jars, I'm going to take the seal out, which is hot. Let me put this all in here. All right. Once we get the lid on, and I will repeat this every time I can. You have to let this vent for 10 minutes. In your canner, you are to only put about 2 inches of water. That helps build the pressure up. And you don't put it on high heat to build it up. Take it up slowly. I usually put it on like a medium heat, and it might take a little longer, but it gets that pressure built up. And then once it's built up and steam starts coming out of here, then you time it for 10 minutes. And once that 10 minutes is up, then we have our pressure. We put it on 10 pounds, and we got to let the pressure build right back up again. When I'm talking about the pressure on my canner, I have old canners. So I don't know what the new canners and how they work. But I do know how these old canners work, and I do know what it takes and how to build the pressure up in them. So when I'm talking about the pressure in the canners, I'm talking about mine, which is about 40 years old. So please read your manual on your canners and see how they work with their pressure. but I do believe that they all have to have like 10 minutes vent for steam and to build that pressure up. Once we put the pressure gauge on, after that pressure has been built up for 10 minutes, the vent's been steaming. Once that's on, and once this builds back up and mine has like a little slow jiggle on it, very slow. And once that starts to jiggle, that's when the timing process starts. And with these here, I will process them for 40 minutes. Okay, I'll get back with you when my 40 minutes is up. Okay, now that I took the lid off, so after I take the lid off, I'll let them sit in here for 10 minutes. That way I'm not pulling the hot jars right out into the cold air. I have had jars break doing that. A lot of work to be doing all this canning and then have your jars all break down into your canner. It's a mess. Whoops. Okay, then I'll get back with you in about 24 hours because we leave this sit, and then we'll take the rings off and show you what I do next with them. After 24 hours, I always tap the tops. That make sure they're sealed. So if you hear a click click, then you know it didn't seal. Always wipe your jars off. I usually put it in the sink with some soapy water, go along the edges. That way if there's any residue on the outside, because mold will form. And I've had mold where it had formed before, and then it actually will break the seal in your lids. And then always mark your jars, what they are and the date. Thank you for joining me on Growing with Grace Homestead from the Garden in the Jars. I'm looking forward to you for our baby food recipe on the next one for baby food for green beans. All right, have a good day.